Hello guys, this is Ryoko368 and welcome to the FanFic Critic vlog. So I knew this was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen so soon, but it happened. Someone requested a fanfic that's about my old web show character. Yes, about fanfics about my web show characters. I don't mind if you guys do request those, but any fanfics that are by the Black Knight, though, I am not going to read on this vlog. So I'm going to say this now to save you guys the trouble. Do not request those stories. Thank you. I don't want to stir that hornet's nest again, if you know what I mean. But thankfully, today's fanfic is not a Black Knight fanfic, because if it was, I wouldn't be doing this in the first place. It's called Nostalgia Critic Meets the Fanfic Critic. This is one I did read a few years ago, it was recently updated, well, kind of recently updated. It was updated May 24th, 2016, and it was started on my birthday, which was October 29th, and the year was 2014. So, when I turned 25. So that was around the time that was after the show was on hiatus. I think that's when the show was still on hiatus before, I ended up just eventually having to just say, screw it, it's canceled because don't have the means to continue it, and I didn't really have the heart to continue it anyway. But that's why we have this vlog, because it's kind of like the best of both worlds. It's kind of like having the FanFic Critic back, but not really. Yeah. Alright, so let's read the description. To help with his new episode, the Nostalgia Critic seeks out the assistance of the Fanfic Critic, who is suffering from a lack of confidence at the moment. As the two finally meet, they soon discover that all fan work, including art and stories across the world, are disappearing. So now they are the only ones who can find out what's going on and save the fandom. Yeah, that's a good description for it. The author is Rolik, God of Power. So this show is in web shows. It's rated T. It's English. It's humor adventure. It's chapter 3. It has 14,890 words. So it is kind of on the long side, but it's not like over the top long like the last fanfic that I did a reading for was. And I want to address that real quick, guys. I have my rules for a reason. So if I decide to not finish reading a fanfic because I deem it as being too long, please respect that. Thank you. So let's continue. Has 9 reviews, 14 faves, 9 follows, and it is complete. And it's only 3 chapters long, but hey, it has a nice beefy word count, so say it's probably like a roughly, that's not bad. Yeah, 14,000 words for 3 chapters. That's actually a really decent-sized story. So, without any further ado, let's get reading it. Okay, so we're going to start with Chapter 1, no fancy chapter titles. Before I go forward, let me just pause this for a sec, because I am going to log into my fanfiction.net account so I can leave a written review. I'm not leaving a review as the Fanfic Critic because I'm not the Fanfic Critic anymore. I'll be leaving it under my Ryoko368 fanfiction account, which used to be my Todd6661. I've started to do fanfics again. I'm working on this fanfic currently, taking my time with it. I haven't updated in a while, but I plan to eventually. I changed my name from Todd666 to Ryoko368 because Todd666 was very distasteful now that I think about it, and it's like I needed a change. So, and I didn't want to, delete the account because, even though my old fanfics were crap, people still enjoyed them. I did remove a lot of the incomplete ones, with one exception. And, figure I might as well have my fanfiction.net account match my YouTube account, so why not? So, 1 second, guys. Let me log in. Alright, I'm back. Alright, let's get started. Disclaimer, I own nothing, unfortunately. All rights and characters in this fic belong to Doug Walker, Megan Wessels, and other respective owners and creators. I gain no profit from this. It's purely for fun. If you enjoy this chapter and want to know more about my work, you can like the Roderick God of Power Facebook page. Chapter 1. Malcolm and Tamara stepped through the front door, their raincoats dripping wet from the storm going on outside the building. Should say from outside the building. The rain had been nonstop for a few hours now and showed no signs of slowing down anytime soon. Thankfully, they would be filming a new editorial episode today, so will be sheltered from the torrential downpour. Tamara pulled back her hood and shivered as she unzipped her coat. Her coat. That was my bad. Her coat. I got up not that long ago, so forgive me if I'm a little blah. That's why we have coffee. Coffee is good. Coffee is great. Yeesh. Crappy day, huh? Say that again. Malcolm said as he piled his and Tamara's coats onto the sofa close by. He turned to his friend. Did Critic tell you what we were going to be filming today? Nope. That's weird. He normally tells us at least a week in advance so we can get our life insurance ready. This time I'll be covered in case I get attacked by another firebender. They have insurance for that? Thud, thud, thud. The two of them stopped immediately as soon as they heard the repeating sound echoing from the room. You hear that? Tamara asked. Malcolm nodded. Yeah, sounds like it's coming from the room next door. They stared at the open door at the end of the room, just about able to see a shadow coming in and out of view on the wall. It didn't give them a better idea of what was making that sound. The two stood still for a moment, waiting to see if anything else would happen. However, the sound continued to go on and on. You think that's the Critic? Tamara inquired. I don't think so. He wouldn't have started filming without us. Wouldn't put it past him. She mumbled cynically under her breath. Then another possibility dawned on her. What if someone broke into the building and is stealing our equipment? Malcolm gulped, worriedly. Maybe. Go check it out. Okay. He took one step forward, then pulled back and looked at Tamara like she was a madwoman. What? Why me? What if it's a thief? You're the one who says he's got the life insurance. That... Malcolm was unable... Well, I'm sorry. Did you not like that I had to move my hand? Offended kitty is offended. Cats. Malcolm was unable to think of any good verbal response to get him out of Tamara's argument, so he did the next thing that came to mind. He sprinted towards the closest window in the room and dived out of it, leaving Tamara alone with the continuing banging sound. She sighed heavily. Fine, I'll go check. Thud, thud, thud. Tamara advanced slowly and quietly towards the open door, ready for something to jump out and attack her. Step by step, she got closer to the door, and the sound continued. When she finally reached the door, she pushed it open slightly more and peered inside, expecting to find something other than what was really making the noise. Critic? Thud, thud, thud. Standing at the wall was the nostalgia Critic, continually banging his head hard against the wall. His hat was discarded on the floor, and a sheet of paper was crumpled in his hands. After a second or two, he responded to Tamara's call by finally moving away from the wall and slowly turning to face her, a bright red spot forming on his forehead. Oh, hey, Tamara, he greeted dizzily, clearly not in the best states after that never-ending assault on himself. What are you doing? He reached for his hat and placed it back over his head before stumbling towards her, his legs wobbling like jelly. Oh, just getting myself mentally prepared for this week's editorial. It's that bad? Take a look yourself! Critic responded as he handed her the crumpled sheet of paper. She took it curiously, wondering how bad the subject was if it could get a reaction like this from the internet reviewer. Okay, if you're going to have the I in internet reviewer capitalized, you might as well capitalize the R too, because just having one capitalized looks a little odd. Let's continue. As she read the script, Critic swayed about, trying to regain composure and balance. Has anyone ever told you that in blurry vision you look like Haley Joel Osment? He asked. Just then, Malcolm stepped into the room, completely drenched from head to toe after escaping through the window and back outside. I forgot about the rain, he commented as he tried to rinse the water out of his clothes. Then why didn't you take a coat? Critic questioned. Never mind. Malcolm tilted his head and poured water from his ears onto the ground. While doing that, he noticed the script that Tamara was still reading. What's that? Critic's editorial script, she answered. And today he's talking about 50 Shades of Grey. As soon as those words passed her lips, the nostalgia critic let out a bellowing scream of anger and frustration that nearly made Tamara and Malcolm jump out of their skins. The rage burned from his face so forcefully that it started to turn bright red. I thought if I hit my head on the wall enough times that I would get that. No, I'm sorry. Let's read that again. I thought if I hit my head on the wall enough times, I would forget about how bad that book is. So I'm guessing you're not fond of the story, she asked. Story? What story? There's nothing more than a poorly written, uninspired, unforgivable piece of illiterate horse puke. How did this thing become so popular? I could have written it, and then I would have been a multi-millionaire sensation right this second. But instead, I'm here in this building talking about how it became so successful. All while the day after tomorrow's going on outside. He paused his rant to take a little breather, and placed his hands on Tamara and Malcolm's shoulders. So in answer to your question, no, I am not fond of this story at all. Finally, Malcolm managed to clear his ear of the water that flooded inside of it. He lifted his head back up and stared at the critic innocently. Sorry, I had water in my ear. I didn't hear a single thing you said. Could you say it again? I'm starting to consider hitting your head against the wall, critic threatened. Before the MC could carry out his threat, though, Tamara lowered the script she was reading and looked at the fuming critic. You do realize you're missing a bit of important information about the book. What? That's impossible. I'll have you know that I put a lot of effort into my painstaking internet surfing to make sure that my reviews and editorials are as reliable and as accurate as possible. Is that why you forgot the name of the villain in The Purge? Is that why you got the name of the villain in The Purge wrong? She pointed out sarcastically. Now I'm considering hitting both of your heads up against the wall. You forgot to mention the fact that 50 Shades started off as a fan fiction story. The critic looked at her with a puzzled expression. Really? No wonder the writing's terrible. Oh, come on, not all fan fiction is bad. Tamara, whenever you become as popular as me, not that you ever will considering how amazing I am, and you have dozens upon dozens of smutty wet dreams worded down on the internet for all to see, I want you to try and tell me that fan fiction is not bad. She sighed at critics' ignorance. Okay, I'm not going to act like there aren't some pretty terrible works out there, but surely you must have seen some good fan fiction stories. I wouldn't know. What? You haven't read any fan fiction stories at all? Nope. Then how do you know that they're bad? The fan art that usually comes with it gives me a clear enough warning. He turned away from the two and started to walk over to his desk and camera in the corner of the room. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an editorial to make. Not that I'm rushing to start work on it, but I have viewers to entertain. Aren't you going to mention the fan fiction history? Tamara asked. Malcolm continued afterwards with his own statement. Yeah, won't the viewers get mad at you for leaving out that information? Critic waved his Need more coffee. It doesn't matter. It doesn't help that I'm kind of recovering from a bit of a cough. I took some medicine this morning. It's been like a very stubborn thing. It's like my body wants to get sick, but I keep on taking medicine ahead of time when I get the signs of it to prevent it, and then it seems like it's going away, and then the next day I wake up with something new, and today was a cough. It's like, oh my God, just die. Oh well, at least I am getting rid of it. It's just annoying. Critic groaned with annoyance and rubbed the bridge of his nose underneath the rim of his glasses. Well, this is going to be a problem, because unless you two have an encyclopedia on all there is to know about fan fiction, I'm completely clueless about the subject. Can't you just ask someone on the site to help? Malcolm probed. No, Bennett hasn't done his fan fiction show in years. Nostalgia Chick is out of the country promoting her new book, and Linkara, the slacker he is busy trying to save our universe from interdimensional gods and beings that plan to destroy all of existence. I'm starting to think about deducing his pay for every time that happens. Maybe you could find someone who's not on the site? Tamara started to suggest until an idea materialized in her mind so quickly, a light bulb shone in her head. Hey guys, I Hey guys, I found the light bulb prop and it works, Malcolm commented as he held the working prop over Tamara's head. Yeah, I have to say, this fanfic is doing really good so far with keeping, like, Doug, Malcolm, or I should say, Nostalgia Critic, Malcolm, and Tamara all in character. Doing really good with that so far. So I'm glad I remembered that part pretty good. She stared at him intensely. He pulled his arm away and threw the light bulb to the side. Sorry. After glaring at Malcolm, she turned to face Critic. Let's be realistic. I highly doubt they've heard of the Fanfic Critic, but for the story's sake, let's say that they have heard of the Fanfic Critic. So let's continue. I have heard of someone on YouTube who reviews bad fanfiction stories. I know you like to do editorial episodes yourself, but I think she can help you a lot, especially with a subject you wouldn't know much about yourself. He huffed and pressed his head in the palm of his hands, thinking over Tamara's suggestion. She was right. He did normally prefer keeping the editorial episodes to himself, and even if it were just a normal review, he couldn't remember the last one he did with anyone who wasn't part of the website. He would be charting into unfamiliar territory, but he knew that he was going to keep getting bugged about it until he agreed to go through with it. So, sucking up his dignity, he turned to Tamara and forced a smile. Okay, I'll talk with this person. What's their name? I think she's called the Fanfic Critic, she answered. Hearing that, he scoffed mockingly. Oh, how imaginative. Having the thing you're reviewing and just adding the word critic at the end of it. But neither of them had time to respond to his comment as Critic marched past them and headed for the front door. I would imagine that would be the Nostalgia Critic's reaction to my web show character if he did hear about her. This is way more realistic than that. I might as well bring up that Black Knight fanfic. The Black Knight had written a fanfic that I don't think he ever completed it, where it was kind of similar to this somewhat, where the Fanfic Critic meets the Nostalgia Critic, but he was turning it into a freaking love story, and it was so... I kind of liked it back then when I was reading it, and I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but thinking back on it, it was really stupid, because the more I think about it, the more out of character the Nostalgia Critic came across in that. I guess he got my characters okay, but then again, it's been a while since I read it, and I try to avoid that author for obvious reasons, so... yeah, if you guys check out that story, let me know how well he did with the characterizations in that, but as far as I remember, I don't think he really wrote the Nostalgia Critic in character. And the fact that he made it into a love story is just so cliche. But I digress. I don't think this story doesn't have romance, does it? Okay, good. No, it doesn't. Alright. Now I lost my place. Where are we? Okay, here we go. As Critic marched past them and headed for the front door. Wait, how are you even going to find her? The Nostalgia Critic turned to look at them as he reached for a coat that lay on the sofa, gracefully putting it on as he answered them. I'm going to find her as I would any person I have never met before and have no clue on their whereabouts, the only way I know how. Look in a phone book and pray it's not too far away. Malcolm stuttered. Critic, that's my coat. Well, unlike you, I'm not stupid enough to go out into the rain without one. Elsewhere. The Fanfic Critic moaned loudly and placed her head on the table, her fist lightly pounding on it as she continued to stare at her computer, with a Word document open and blank. It was like it was mocking her, taunting her over her lack of inspiration. She started to tap her fingers on the table, as if that would help. Before long, her identical-looking cousin, Susan, stepped into the room with a cup of tea in her hand. Do I want to ask why you're attempting to start a one-woman band? What? The Fanfic Critic groaned in confusion. The moaning, the hand-banging, and the fingers tapping the table. It's like you're trying to wake the bloody dead. It's like you're trying to wake the bloody dead. Susan commented as she pulled up a chair and sat next to her disgruntled relative. What's the matter? Fanfic Critic sat up straight, her back clicking a little as she stretched out her arms and gave her cousin a mystified expression. I honestly don't know. It's like I'm in a rut. I want to read and review something for another episode, but at the same time, I don't feel like it, if that makes any sense. It does, Susan said sympathetically. Everyone gets like that. Yeah, well, I want to get out of it. Have you ever found a fanfic you want to review? No, she responded, leaning her head into her hand that was propped up over the table. The brightness of the blank document forced her to look away. She grabbed her glasses and, using the sleeve of her jacket, rubbed the lenses. Suddenly, she groaned even harder in frustration, startling Susan. See? She was pointing to her glasses. What? I'm doing everything except my show. I'm twiddling my fingers or cleaning my glasses. I'm getting out of the house or feeding my cats, talking with my friends and going on Tumblr. I feel like I've created this barrier between myself and fan fiction. And do you know why you created that wall? Was it the last story you reviewed? The FanFic Critic took a few seconds to remember, trying to recollect what happened in her last review. But her mind was blank like the Word document in front of her that was supposed to contain her next script. I can't remember. I know it was bad. How bad? I laid on my bed for 6 hours straight and felt so much like I was in a comatose state that I didn't even realize one of my cats was sitting on my face until it turned blue. Okay. I think I would be dead. But then again, fanfic critic Susan, the Dragon Balls. Yeah. I didn't script my show, by the way. A lot of it I just pulled out of my ass doing improv, so. But, for the storylines, for fan fiction, it's pretty good, though. I mean, for the most part, it's pretty accurate. I think for a while I did actually try scripting episodes. You can kind of tell, but then I ended up going back into the improv route. Because for the most part, that did work, kind of, sort of. Why the heck did you guys even like my show? Okay, let's just continue. Although she never liked it when her cousin was in discomfort, Susan couldn't help but grin slightly at the mental image of a feline sitting on the fanfic critic's face as he just laid there. Noticing the grin, she glared back at Susan, who merely returned another compassionate look. Oh, come now, don't get yourself in a strump. It's never good for the both of us. Tell you what, how about I take the next review? I don't know, maybe. Fanfic Critic pondered. I don't see any problem with it. As long as you don't suddenly announce my retirement, I can let you take the reins for a bit. Oh, please, if I wanted you to retire, I would have had you stop doing this show a long time ago. Besides, I know how much you love doing this show. Then why can't I do it now? The frustrated reviewer stepped out of her seat and began to pace around her room as Susan moved closer to the computer. You don't have any stories scheduled for the next one, do you? The fanfic critic shook her head. Just go online and find something that interests you. Trying to find some time for herself, she reached into the drawer and pulled out her retracted Sweeney Todd razor blade and wiggled it between her fingers. Okay, for old time's sake, I'll be right back. Okay, don't worry, I'm not going to be crazy. I just had to have the blade just for shits and giggles. Yeah, I still have it. Might have to get that tightened. It's a little too loose, but meh. Alright, where did we, the Sweeney Todd razor blade, and wiggled it between her fingers. Reaching her bed, she sat at the edge and looked up at her ceiling, trying to look deep within herself to find some motivation. She's had blocks before, plenty of time, but never like this. For some reason, the spark that just hasn't been with her for days, and it worried her. Her moment of peace and quiet didn't last long, though, as Susan turned to look at her, a bewildered expression plastered over her face. Critic, there's no stories. Susan, it's fan fiction. You're going to find something. No, I mean, there's no stories at all. They don't come up in the search bar. It's like they disappeared. Look. She moved to the side, showing off her computer screen to her cousin. Or the computer screen to her cousin. Sorry, that was my bad. The fanfic critic folded the razor into her jacket. Okay, let's correct that. The fanfic critic folded her razor and then placed it into her jacket pocket. There you go. Picked herself up off the bed and walked over to the computer, not sure what to expect. Looking carefully at the screen, she looked at every little word in detail to make sure that what she was seeing was genuine. The search engine had yielded no results for the word fan fiction at all. She took control and tried to type in every single fan fiction website she could remember into the bar, hoping to find something, but every single page she looked that came with the dreaded 404 error image, an internet goer's worst enemy. I think my computer's acting up again. Ring, 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 ring. FanFic Critic's phone started to ring in her pocket as Susan continued to work the computer. The critic pulled out her phone and answered. Hello? Hey, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you for hours now. The frantic voice of her good friend, Archangel Assassin, came from the other side. Spoiler alert, we're not exactly friends anymore, but that's okay. This story was written before that happened, so that's fine. And this is in the web show universe anyway, so we can just assume that in the web show universe we're still good friends and whatnot. So, well, I'm here now, so what's up? What's up is that fan fiction is completely disappearing from the world. The fanfic critic stood with a blank expression on her face and remained silent as she tried to take in those words. I think I misheard you. It just sounded like you said fanfiction is completely disappearing from the world. That's exactly what I said. Everyone is commenting about it. Every single fanfiction story that has ever been written is just vanishing without a trace. How can something just vanish from the internet? Did our government pass one of those stupid bills that we've stopped about 100 times now? I wouldn't put it past them, but this is the really troubling part. It's not just fanfiction stories. Fan art, fan films, anything associated with fan-made works are disappearing. Fandom itself is dying. Sadly, I wouldn't put it past the government, especially the most current administration, to try to pull shit like this where they would probably try to get rid of anything that's like fan-created. I wouldn't put it past them at all. I really wouldn't. But let's keep politics out of this, because I know not everyone's going to agree, so let's continue. It was almost impossible. Hold on. Are you going to come up? Are you going to come up? No. If you're going to disturb my peace, then you're going to be on my lap. It's a Rorschach cameo, a Rorschach cameo. A little tiny cat, a little tiny cat. He's my little brat. Yes, you're so cute. All right. It was almost impossible to believe. How something so widespread like the power of fandom disappear completely in just a few hours? However, once it fully registered in the fanfic critic's brain the full extent of what her friend had just said, a grim look darkened over her. Wait a minute. Everything associated with fan works is disappearing too? Yeah, Archangel said bleakly. You mean like my... Before she could even finish her sentence, she felt a hand poke her on the shoulder. She turned to see Susan's perplexed look. Critic, I don't know how to tell you this, but all my videos are gone, aren't they? Susan nodded, confirming fanfic critic's worst fears. Honestly, I could care less if they disappeared now. Sorry, guys, but that's how much I don't care about the old web show. How can things possibly get any worse? Knock, knock. A loud banging came from the front door. The two of them looked at each other. Waiting to see if either one would say they were expecting someone to visit. Neither had said anything to say. Without a moment's hesitation, the two of them rushed towards the front door, wondering if it was someone they knew who came to deliver belated news about what was going on to the worldwide fandom community. Fanfic Critic was the first to reach the door and opened it slightly, completely bamboozled when she saw who was standing there, completely drenched from the still ongoing heavy rain, and panted heavily. Wait! Nostalgia Critic huffed. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not here to sell anything. I'm not here to help with the flooding in your basement. All I want to do is find someone. So please, for the love of God, tell me you're the fanfic critic, because I can't handle seeing another door slam in my face. Fanfic Critic hesitated to answer, partially in disbelief at seeing the Nostalgia Critic standing at her front door, and another part of still trying to comprehend the missing fanfiction situation. The heavy puffing of the soaked critic brought her out of her thoughts. I am the fanfic critic. Oh, thank God! The Nostalgia Critic wheezed. Did you walk all the way... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be Susan there. Did you walk all the way here? Susan asked him as if he was the biggest moron in existence. The address in the phone book didn't sound that far away. Damn it, Jim, I'm a critic, not a geographer. While Fanfic Critic was curious as to why he was here, she couldn't take her mind off of what had become of her videos and the rest of the fandom's work around the world. I'm sorry, but this is a really bad time and something's come up. Without even giving her a chance to explain herself, the Nostalgia Critic barged past the two and into the shelter of their home. Look, I'm sure you have problems, but they can't be nearly as important as my own. Try me. I've come to you so that you can give me info that I could learn myself, but I can't be bothered. Why should I have the time to research something when I can just ask someone who already knows it? What it worth it? What it worth it? Was it worth it? What it worth? What it worth it? You might need to change that sentence. Walk from here to my house, and then you'll have the answer, he retorted, trying to catch his breath. Okay, I would really like to help you, but a very big issue has come up that could jeopardize my reviewing career forever. Whatever you have going on, you can tell me about it afterwards. No way, sister, Nostalgia Critic said harshly. I've come too far to be stopped now. I think we should be reasonable and remember the fact that I'm an A-list internet celebrity while you're an internet person and therefore I should be getting more attention right now. Before FanFic Critic could reply, her cousin had a few choice words of her own. Bloody wanker. Hearing this, the Nostalgia Critic... Oh, God, I could so picture Susan saying that to him, too. Hearing this, the Nostalgia Critic scowled at her. Hey, if you're going to insult me, then say it in English. Enough! FanFic Critic shouted, stopping the two from bickering further. The two did exactly that as she tried to loosen the tension building up inside her. I can see that I'm not going to be able to talk you into believing me, so how about I just show you? Thankfully for her, there were no comments from the new arrival as she showed him to her computer, and he saw firsthand what was going on with every piece of fan work that had been displayed on the internet. So everything's disappearing? Everything. I'm sorry, it was supposed to be Susan there. Everything, including her videos. Susan commented as she scrolled through the pages on the computer, hoping to come across at least one site that showed any fan-related work, but nothing came up, and this troubled FanFic Critic more and more as she continued to pace about the room. Susan turned sternly towards the Nostalgia Critic. I do believe you owe my cousin an apology for trying to suggest your problem was bigger than hers. Instead of doing as instructed, he flapped his arms nonchalantly and marched away from her. It's probably nothing. Your search engine must be looked over by cyber monks. It's like the kiss of death. No hope for ye who enter. FanFic Critic approached him. I had a call from a friend of mine. This is happening when others searching for it as well. Nostalgia Critic shrugged his shoulders impatiently. Well, maybe this is a sign that you should move on to other hobbies. Is losing all fan fiction on Earth really a bad thing? Of course it's a bad thing, she stated strongly. There are people who put a lot of time and energy into their writing and artwork. Ha! He ridiculed. I've seen people put more time and energy into trying to make Shaquille O'Neal seem like a good actor. Susan raised her hand to get her attention. You must admit his cameo in Scary Movie 3 was funny. Okay, that got a smirk off of me at best, Nostalgia Critic responded to her before diverting his attention back on FanFic Critic. I'm on a very tight schedule here. I came to find you because I'm doing a 50 Shades video. You're doing a video about 50 Shades of Grey? Don't remind me. And I came to find you because everyone says I have to mention fan fiction because it was a fan fiction story first, and I just wanted to shut them up about it so they would stop mentioning fan fiction to me. What is your problem with fan fiction? It's just so... He paused over and over again, trying to think of the right word to describe his disgust towards fan fiction in as accurate way as possible. Sensing his discomfort, FanFic Critic tried to tackle the subject from another angle. Okay, I get where you're coming from. Trust me, I've been doing this for years. There are plenty of bad stories to the point where I've killed myself. Really? How do you come back? Once again, Susan drew his notice. I brought you back with the Dragon Balls. You have those? He asked like an excited little schoolboy who just heard about the brand new chocolate factory opening. However, he regained his focus and his expression was firm. We're getting off topic here. Will you help me with my video, please? The FanFic Critic was about to think the offer over. Really, she was in no right state of mind to handle this childish behavior right now, but she didn't get the chance to think of an answer as Susan yet again got their attention. Nostalgia Critic, she spoke ominously. Your videos are gone too. What? Nostalgia Critic screamed so loud it made the room shake. He rushed towards the computer, shoving Susan out of the way, and looked at the webpage that was meant to host his website, only to find his videos and the videos of other reviewers gone. Why the hell are my videos gone? Maybe because your videos have clips from movies you reviewed? It counts as fan-made, FanFic Critic theorized. Susan agreed with her cousin's hypothesis. Copyright can be a bloody bitch sometimes. My words exactly, FanFic Critic followed up. Her theory had fallen on deaf ears, though, as the Nostalgia Critic was too overcome with the shock of seeing his work gone before his very eyes. No, it's not true. It's impossible. Everything I've worked on over the years. This is my livelihood. What do I do if I can't review bad nostalgic movies? I would have to find another job. I can't do that. I wouldn't be able to cope. Do you know how hard it is for a heterosexual white male to find a credible job in this society? I'd be eaten alive. In an attempt to calm down the panicking maniac, FanFic Critic gently patted him on the back and pulled him away from the computer. Critic, we'll sort this out. We'll find whoever's responsible for this and fix the problem. How do we know someone's behind this? Susan inquired. Someone has to be. This can't just be some random event. Someone has to be behind a keyboard and hitting the delete button somewhere. After finally calming down to an extent, the Nostalgia Critic took a deep breath and made an effort to present a tranquil composure. Is there really any way we may be able to track this person behind this? Actually, Susan started before rushing over to the computer and typing away on the keyboard faster than you can say Matrix. Nostalgia Critic and FanFic Critic peered over her shoulders, trying to see what she was working on. I've got it. Whoever's doing this isn't deleting fan work instantly like we guessed. They're actually absorbing it, sucking it away like a hoover with dust. And I can follow the codes and it'll lead us to the location of the person behind this. FanFic Critic looked at her cousin in a very impressed manner. Wow, Susan, when did you become an expert hacker? It's a British thing. You're British? I thought you were Australian. Oh my! Susan yelled, exasperated. Why do so many people get those two accents mixed up? Do I have to sing God Saves the Queen just a location? Now, please! FanFic Critic interrupted Susan's rant. I think you're British, I thought you were Australian was supposed... Yeah, that was supposed to be Nostalgia Critic, because, obviously FanFic Critic would know... Oh. Yeah, there's no camera there anymore. There's just the camera there. Sorry. Her infuriated cousin turned back to the computer. Fine. She searched for the location while muttering some inaudible grumbles in between. Soon enough, she had the exact location of where the fan work was being sent and quickly had a position. She printed out a small piece of paper and handed it to the FanFic Critic. Thanks. I'll go with Nostalgia Critic and we'll take care of the rest. You stay back and call me if the fan fiction stories return. Susan nodded at the plan, while the female reviewer turned to the Nostalgia Critic. I promise when all this is over, I will help with whatever you need, but right now I would feel much better if I had backup. Oh, don't worry, I have a very special friend I wanted to introduce to our video thief, he said with a hint of sadistic tone as he pulled out a gun from his back pocket. This handgun, and he also has a couple of smaller friends who would also like to get acquainted with him, and by friends I mean bullets. You can be pretty scary sometimes, FanFic Critic said. I think of myself more pretty and scary. To be continued. Okay, let's take a quick gander. How long is this video? 38 minutes. Ooh. I think I'll break this one up into parts. Yeah, 38 minutes per, so 40 minutes per, yeah. Okay, so, we'll tackle this in the next part. So far, let me know what you guys think of this story. I mean, so far I like it a lot. There's a few typos and stuff, but, memory of it does hold up pretty well. Yeah, we'll take a look at this in the next part. So, thank you guys for watching, and, this is Ryoko368, so I'll see you in the next video. Bye!